Is balsamic vinegar healthy for diabetics? Let's find out. This is the Happy Diabetic Kitchen, the podcast about people who love to eat and cook healthy. This is your guide to the world of healthy cooking and conversations about happy diabetic living and lifestyles, where we simply turn ordinary ingredients into something extraordinary. Welcome to the kitchen, and let's get cooking. Hello everyone, it's our 40th episode party time. I'm Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic, and this is the internet's most delicious cooking podcast. Hey, I'm here in the kitchen getting ready to explore a healthy diabetic lifestyle. I want to take the mystery out of healthy cooking, explore some amazing foods, and my diabetic journey with all my successes and all my challenges. Let me help you live your best diabetic lifestyle. So welcome to the kitchen, and if you're new to the show, I am so happy that you're here today, especially on our 40th anniversary episode. So with me in the kitchen, as always, is my son Jason, engineer, producer of the podcast. Jason, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Never had it so good.
Great.
Our 40th episode.
Amazing.
Pretty exciting.
How did we get here?
That's exactly right. I mean, when we started this journey a couple years back, we were so excited. And here we are, still excited, having fun, trying to bring some awesome content to everybody. Jason, thank you for your expert engineering and producing. It's been a pleasure, all 40 episodes.
Well, I try my best, and it's been a really good time.
It's been fun. It's been a great time together. Well, let's just get into it because we got a big show.
All right, let's do it.
So today in the kitchen, we're going to have the recipe of the podcast, a very simple balsamic vinaigrette, because, hey, we're talking about balsamic vinegars. We're going to talk about where does it come from, how is it made, and is balsamic vinegar the right choice for a diabetic? And we are going to be tasting 7 amazing balsamic vinegars. Now, I'm going to post the pictures on my website so you'll be able to see. But in front of us are 7 brown paper bags, each with a bottle of balsamic vinegar underneath it and a small bowl in front of it with some tasting spoons. And we don't know, well, let me just say this. I know what the vinegars are because I selected them, but we don't know which one is which. Cassie put them together for us. She put it all together, put a brown paper bag and numbered them 1 to 7. So Jason and I are going to taste them as we go and just kind of figure out which ones we liked and which ones we didn't and see if we can pick our favorite. And I will tell you, the range of balsamic vinegars are from $3 to $75. So it's quite a range.
Ooh, interesting, huh?
I know. It's going to be cool. So we'll see. And all of them, with the exception of one, came from the local supermarket. So great selections there. Well, I think we're ready to go. Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, Dad, do you actually know where the name balsamic vinegar came from?
Now, that's a good question. I know a lot about balsamic vinegar, but I don't know where the name came from.
It's actually kind of interesting. It goes back to the Middle Ages when this stuff was actually used as sort of like a cure for various ailments. You know, like Middle Ages science, like, you know, kind of a little bit quacky. Apparently, like the word balsam actually refers to this sort of like tree resin that people would use as like remedies. And so this vinegar just got lumped in with all of that, even though there's no actual balsam in the stuff.
Oh,
it's just
interesting.
made from grapes, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do know that like balsamic vinegar back in the day was given as a present in a very, it was like very prestigious to have it. it was almost like, if you're going to marry my daughter, I want your balsamic vinegar.
Yeah.
Kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, interesting what things had value back in those days.
Yeah.
When it was harder to come by.
Yeah. And when we get into the process of balsamic vinegar, you'll see why it was precious. Matter of fact, they refer to it even today, as they did before, as black gold because of that black, dark color of balsamic. Yeah. So I know this, that so many foods, if not every food, can be part of a healthy diabetic lifestyle way of eating. Like I always say, with maybe the exception of cotton candy. But vinegar is one of those items that is subtle, delicious, lots of flavor, very low in carbohydrates, and it has this amazing anti-glycemic effect on people with diabetes. So in other words, after eating a high carbohydrate meal, vinegar helps to reduce the blood glucose concentration, keeping your blood sugars from spiking. And listen, we all know that spiking blood sugars is not a good thing. And not only that, but regular intake of vinegar, according to many leading physicians, can decrease the risk of heart disease, which again is associated with diabetes. So lots of really good health benefits, but it's like one of those forgotten ingredients. I mean, think about it this way. Instead of a creamy, thick salad dressing, try drizzling, or you could dizzle, but try drizzling balsamic vinegar and olive oil onto your salad. It'll add a little kick to it. Or maybe in your chicken marinade, or brushing it on salmon as it's cooking. So lots of really great ways to use vinegar. But the real question is, when it comes to vinegar, is where does it come from? And doing some research, in my understanding, it's super interesting. But first of all, let's just talk about this. What's the difference between balsamic and regular vinegar? Do you know that, Jason?
Only because I just did a little research about it.
Okay.
It's balsamic is made from grapes, right?
It is. It is. It's thicker than normal vinegar, typically. It's kind of got this sweet, tart flavor because it's aged and cooked. So it's super sweet and concentrated. It's got a strong, fruity, but a tart taste, similar to like black vinegar, kind of a smoky flavor, or pomegranate molasses, not as fruity, but it's sweet enough that it tastes good just plain, dipped in bread, put on salad. But the story of balsamic vinegar is really interesting. And in the known world, there's fewer than 100 certified makers of authentic balsamic vinegar. So traditional vinegar comes from the Modena, or they call DOP, region of Italy. Traditional balsamic vinegar of the Reggiano Emilio area. So it's really Modena and Reggio Emilia. Those are the two major areas, if not only areas in Italy, where authentic balsamic vinegar comes from.
We know that Italy takes authenticity of their foods very seriously, right?
They are passionate
same with
about
cheese, olive oil, all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. And the amazing thing about it is, think about it, Jason, we're 200 years old, right? We're not that old.
Right.
So these families that are making balsamic vinegar and olive oil and wines, they're passed on to generations and generations and generations. So it's just part of the culture and part of their history, their family history. So the two provinces that we talked about, Modena and Reggio Emilia, are really the only places authentic balsamic vinegar comes from. About 21 million gallons are produced every year. And it basically works like this. The grapes are harvested. Then the grapes are cold pressed, which means they're squeezed. All the juices are squeezed. And these are typically white grapes. So they're cold pressed, and then all the stems are separated from the stalks and the fruit, all separated. And then in many cases, they're blended with white vinegar. So the key to balsamic is the grapes are cooked to 80 degrees Celsius, or about 176 degrees, for 24 to 36 hours till the juice is transformed from a yellowy color to a dark red. Then they're placed in wood barrels, typically oak to start with. And at every turn, the balsamic vinegar is taken out of the oak and put into a chestnut wood barrel. Then that same vinegar gets transferred into a juniper barrel, then into a mulberry barrel.
You're kidding me.
And then into a cherry barrel. And every barrel is smaller and smaller because as 1 and 2 and 3 and 25 and 30 years goes by, it just gets concentrated and the amount of vinegar is smaller and smaller and smaller.
Wait, we age balsamic vinegar for 30 years?
As a matter of fact, I've got, we're going to taste it today, a 25-year balsamic.
No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was like wine in that way.
It is. There are balsamic vinegars that are 100 years old that families have.
Amazing.
And they're expensive. I mean, when you start to get into 25, 30, 40-year, I mean, you're talking hundreds of dollars for ounces.
Well, we know that wine, as it ages, starts to taste more and more vinegary. So
yes,
I assume vinegar.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah, it makes sense.
This is an art form, really, really for sure. So in order for it to be certified by the Italian government, it's got to be aged in these oak barrels, juniper, chestnut, mulberry, cherry, and it has to at least go 2 to 3 years to be certified. And the bottles that are in front of us, of course, we can't see because it's a brown paper bag. Some have labels on them to certify them, and some are not certified because they're more of a commercial version. So the vinegar is transferred into a very large barrel to start with, and then smaller barrels to age. So balsamic vinegar matures in about 60 days.
Okay.
So you can eat it, drink it, whatever you want to do after 60 days. But the longer it ages, the sweeter, the darker, the thicker it's going to be. And the key is that the temperature in the barrel rooms are hot and humid in the winter and super cold and dry. So temperatures fluctuate. Like if you go to California wine country and go to a wine cellar underground, it's about 60 degrees all year round. So these cellars get hot and humid and then cold and dry in the wintertime. It's always tested before being bottled because the maker of the vinegar might want to age it longer. So just like wine, they'll taste it, check it, and then, tweak it as it goes. We as Americans fell in love with this black gold back in the 80s. And it's really interesting because about 90% of all balsamic vinegar is imported to America. 8% is about left in Italy, and the rest goes worldwide. So we are like the largest consumers. Like I said, balsamic vinegar can age up to 25 to 30 years typically. Think about it this way. Like $2 bottle of balsamic vinegar that you might find in the supermarket, 2 or 3 bottles, we've got one here somewhere, is like a Fiat, right? Low cost automobile.
Sure.
When you start to get into 25 years, now you're driving the Ferrari of balsamic vinegar.
Right.
So a Fiat is $2,000, a Ferrari is $500,000, for example, right? So it's super thick, it's super smooth. And again, 25-year-olds can cost anywhere from, depending on the maker, $50 to $300.
I guess we're going to find out how sophisticated our palates are. Huh?
We are. We're going to see if we can figure out what the expensive one is. When you buy most balsamic vinegar in the supermarket, it's commercially made, which means, especially if it doesn't have the Italian label designation and the maker's actual ID number, it's probably been aged in oak only, right? So it's not going to be as sweet, not going to be as thick, not going to be as rich. They do that to bring it to market much faster because less handling means less cost. That's why you could find $2 and $3 bottles of balsamic vinegar. Really good for making dressings. It definitely has its place. Every bottle of certified balsamic vinegar must have at least 6% acidity, and it must have the packer label with their ID number. And as we open up our bottles in just a little bit, we're going to find those to be true. Most balsamic vinegar, like wine, is fermented for about 2 to 6 months. Again, thicker, and balsamic vinegar is thicker than regular red wine vinegar, if you've ever seen the difference. But it'll be fermented, then aged in the barrels. So true balsamic vinegar is made from typically 2 kinds of grapes: a sweet, thick, white-skinned Trebbiano and Lambrusco grapes. This is going to result in a super thick syrup. They call it mosto cotto in Italian, and it's subsequently aged for a minimum of 12 years in a battery of several barrels of successively smaller ones, just like we talked, all those different varieties of wood from large to small. So how would I describe balsamic vinegar? Well, it's, they cook it slowly, and it becomes almost like a syrup, concentrating its flavors and aromas, darkening the color. It's really quite an amazing vinegar that I think has become so popular with Americans today that we just had to talk about the vinegar, because it really, really is nice. But what does it really taste like? I mean, Jason, have you had much balsamic vinegar?
I have had it as a dressing. I like it. Well, let me take that back. I've had balsamic vinaigrette.
Okay.
Which, it's not just straight balsamic vinegar, right?
Yeah, right.
You know what? I don't know if I've actually had a ton of straight balsamic vinegar. I think I've had it as a bread dip, maybe, mixed with some olive oil or something.
Well, when you start to get into 25-year balsamic vinegar, it's going to be thick. It's almost going to be like syrup. Not quite as thick, but it can be. Whereas less expensive balsamic vinegars are just liquidy and very runnable. I like to describe it as a very soft and rich palate feel. You can notice the sweetness with some acidity. And traditional balsamic vinegar from Modena or Reggiano Emilia has a really unique character, specific to the local grape varieties. And it's really multi-layered complexity that comes from time-honored production, processes, extended aging, recipes that have just been taken down from family member to family member. Now, lots of countries make balsamic vinegar. Spain makes amazing balsamic vinegar. Pedro Jimenez balsamic vinegar, for example. It's a 25-year vinegar. It's aged for 25 years in antique American oak barrels. Strongly mahogany color, soft, sweet, sour flavors, very aromatic. So, it doesn't have to come from Italy, but it certainly can. All right, so we're going to get into the recipe of the podcast, then our tasting.
Okay, let's do that.
So today's recipe of the podcast is an amazing balsamic vinaigrette. Balsamic vinegar and olive oil. And I'm going to post it on my website, happydiabetic.com. It'll be in the blog section of my page. Go there and it'll be the most amazing balsamic recipe for a vinaigrette you've ever had. So let's get right into our tasting. Are you ready, Jason?
I'm ready.
So we got 7 balsamic vinegars. We're going to start from 7 and count our way down to 1. We don't really know what these are, but we're going to taste them. We're going to make some notes. We're going to pick which ones we liked best and which one we like least. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So we're going to start with number 7. We're tasting. So to me, it's a little, I'm not sure. It's a little bit fruity, vinegary, not super strong, not very sweet.
If this is not super strong, then I don't know. I'm in for a surprise because I thought this one was strong.
Okay, I'm going to taste it again.
But granted, this is our first one, so
Yeah, maybe I didn't get enough.
this will be the context for the rest, I suppose. Definitely a sweet. Very, very tart.
Okay, it was tart. That's a good one. I'm going to make a note, tart. Okay, next is number 6. So this one looks a little thicker to me. Strong. Sweet. Much sweeter.
Oh, for sure sweeter.
I like that one a lot. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sweeter.
It's good. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But
All right.
for sure sweeter than the first one.
Okay, here we go. Now we're down to number 5. So, not as sweet, but oakier, woodier.
There definitely is something else there.
Like wood, like oak, like something. You know, sometimes when you taste a wine, you can almost get a sense for the barrel. And I'm picking up oak, kind of an oak flavor.
I think this one's a good balance of sweet and tart, like a really good piece of fruit.
Yeah? That's a good way to think about it. Okay? All right, on to number 4. Here's your little tasting guy. Sharp. Sharp for me, not ultra sweet. So I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to just say that probably the tart, not so sweet, are probably the less expensive of the vinegars.
I agree that one was pretty tart.
Okay. All right, so that was 7, 6, 5, and 4. Okay. Now we're going to head into the last round. Okay, so now we're into number 3. Now, as I look at this one, it seems a little... it's vinegar, but it seems a little thicker. Ooh, that's got a nice balance of sweet.
Yeah, this one's very flavorful.
Lots of flavor. Lots of complex flavors. Not just like hit you vinegar in your face.
I mean, they're all an assault on the taste buds, eating straight balsamic, but I do like the flavor of this one.
Well, I think that's a really good point. It is an assault on your taste buds. This is vinegar, right?
Right.
All right, here we go. Number 2. Okay, number 2. That baby's tart. I don't get hardly any sweetness out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. This one, more than anything, I taste vinegar. Not terrible, though.
No. Quite honestly, I don't think any of them are terrible. Okay, here we are. We're heading into last number 1 here. They all have a nice dark color. That is for sure. Sharp. Good flavor. Very sharp. You know,
Sharp is definitely the word, yeah.
yeah.
Probably tastes good as a bread dip or something like that.
You bet. But quite honestly, I mean, one of these costs $75.
I don't know. Do you have any sort of guess? Not that we have to put ourselves out there and be like the wine judges who choose the $3 chuck.
I know, it's awesome. I'm going to try number 3 again, one more time. To me, number 3 is the sweetest.
Interesting that you went back to number 3 because that's the one that I just wrote down on my notes here. Good flavor.
Yeah, taste that again. It's the sweetest. So when I'm thinking aged, reduction, sweetness. All right, so let's just take a quick look at our notes. We're going to very quickly tabulate. I don't know. For me, I think the one I don't like the most is number 1.
Okay.
For me.
For me, it was number 2. Number 2 was a little meh for me.
Okay. I think the one I like the best, I liked 3 and 4.
Interesting. I think I'm going to go with 5. I thought that had the best balance of flavor.
Really? Okay, I'm tasting 5 again.
Now, bear in mind, this is my amateur palate speaking.
Okay, so in full disclosure, I know what 5 is.
You do?
I know it because of the flavor. And
How much a fool of myself am I making?
you
choosing
picked
that one?
you picked a good one.
Did I?
You picked a very good one. If
right.
I'm right, I could be wrong. But what fruit do you taste?
I don't know. Let me taste it again.
Taste it again. You should be able to taste a distinctive fruit, like apple, peach, pear, or something like that.
This is the one where I did comment that it tasted like a good fruit, but it tastes like apple.
Apple. Okay, now watch me be totally wrong. All right. So, which one did you like best?
I said number 5. I guess I'm going to stick with it.
Okay. And your least favorite?
Number 2.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to say 3. 3 was my best. 1 was the one I didn't like the best.
Okay. You know what? For number 3, I did write good flavor.
Yeah. But in full disclosure, again, actually, all of these tasted really good. They were very different. And I think part of what I'm going to walk away with today is like wine. I mean, I love wine, right? But I never drink one brand or one variety. I love to taste different varieties. And if you have a Cabernet, or a Chardonnay from different regions and different winemakers, they're different night and day. Vinegar, this balsamic vinegar is exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
well put.
Here's what I'd walk away with, friends. If you're buying vinegar by small bottles, don't go to Sam's Club or Costco and buy a 55-gallon drum. Buy small bottles so you can try different ones. I know I have 3 or 4 different bottles in my cabinet, and actually one of these came out of my cabinet because you might like them for different things. One might be for brushing on salmon or chicken. The other one could be for a vinaigrette. One might be for dipping bread. All right, well, let's just go. Let's just start with, should we just start from 7 down, and let's do a reveal?
Let's do it.
Okay, so number 7. Okay. So number 7, how do you pronounce that, Jason?
Pompeian?
Pompeian. This is aged in oak. This is the lowest priced on the table.
Interesting.
At like $2 for a big bottle. This is 16 ounces.
Huh. None of us really. It didn't make a big impression.
No.
None of us went back to it at the end there.
I thought it was really tart. It's not thick and it's not sweet. So and this is not aged long, nor does it have any designation from a grower. So this is strictly commercial bulk, basic balsamic vinegar.
Gotcha.
All right, number 6.
It's a fancy looking bottle.
Okay, now this is the one. So I was wrong. Hard to believe, because you like you thought 4 was appley, right?
I thought number 5.
5. So this one is really good. So this is number 6. Was sweet.
Yeah, I
right?
wrote sweet also.
This is called vinegars, Italian vinegar maker since 1889. It's pear flavored.
Pear flavored.
Balsamic vinaigrette from Modena, and it's a product of Italy. But again, it's very good, but it does not have the numbers we're looking for from the grower. So again, a little more commercial. And all of these were under $10. I think this one was closer to the $8 range.
Yeah. You guys are going to have to go on the blog on the website and take a look at some of these bottles.
Yeah, we'll take pictures and post them for sure. All right. Oh, yeah. Number 5. This was balsamic vinegar of Modena.
It's got an actual cork on it, huh?
It does. In this one, actually, you can see it's aged. It's got the product of Italy, and it's got the designation.
Okay.
It's got the correct numbers. So this is certifiable, absolutely. 2 to 3 years old.
Okay, and that's the one I chose. So it's actual, it's legit.
You chose
Italy.
this one as your best?
Yeah, I chose number 5.
Okay, so this was the most expensive one.
What's it really?
Out of, not excluding the 25-year one.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's for a 16-ounce one. I think this was like $9.
Okay.
But it's got a cork in it. It's very cool. It's sticky. It's thick. It's got some character. So that's a super high quality one. Okay, number 4. Okay, interesting. So number 4 is the Col Avida. This is also an authentic balsamic from Modena, but it's a commercial grade. There's no number. There's no seal of approval. Made in Modena, but it's commercial. So chances are probably aged in oak only.
Okay.
Right? And that was number 4, right?
That was 4.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good balance of sweet and tart.
The only thing I wrote for that was tart. That was my impression of that one.
Okay. All right. So you chose as your best the most expensive, second to the 25-year version.
Okay.
Okay. All right, number 3, which was my favorite. Okay, so I got the 25-year dude.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
But in full disclosure now, because no one loves you more than me, this is Pedro Jimenez, 25-year Gran Reserva, but it is a product of Spain, not Italy.
Interesting.
This is about a $60 bottle.
Okay.
And this is 200 milliliters, 6.8 fluid ounces. So not much in here.
Not much.
Yeah. Okay.
But we both liked it, right?
We both liked it.
It was your favorite. I said it had a good flavor.
Yeah. I thought it had the best balance. And of course, 25 years, you're going to have the best aging, thickness, sweetness. Okay, number 2. Okay, interesting. So this was a product of Italy, balsamic vinegar of Modena, absolutely. And it is certified. It's got the label there. So probably aged for 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
In all the right oaks and barrels. This is what my local supermarket has as their store brand. So at $4, probably the best value, 17 ounces. Can you read what the brand of that is?
Looks like Gustave.
Could be.
Gustave Vida.
I mean, they're a distributor. They also distribute pasta, sauces, and whatnot. But again, it's my local grocery store, which if you live here in Iowa or Kansas or in the Midwest, Hy-Vee supermarkets, it's their store brand. It's the one I usually buy. It's relatively priced. I mean, for me, when I pick ingredients like this, like olive oil or balsamic vinegar, I never pick the most expensive one or the cheapest. I try to go in the middle.
Well, apologies to Gustave for putting you last, but I'm sure you're very legit also.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a tough competition.
It was. All right, why don't you unveil number 1?
Monari Federzoni.
Okay. Again, product of Modena. It's aged. It's a small bottle, 8.5 fluid ounces. I think this one was about $8. It's got all the right certificates. It's got the number. It's got who bottled it. It's got all the right designations. And most of these are all non-GMO. And I thought number 1 was sharp.
I also wrote sharp.
Yeah, but it was good.
we could have been suffering from palate fatigue, having already tasted 6 others before that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Interesting. So I don't know. What are you walking away with?
I wouldn't necessarily not recommend any of these. I thought, I would eat any one of these, but very, very interesting, the range of flavor that these things can have. Some were definitely sweeter than others, which is something, I never would have thought about sweetness as being a big aspect of balsamic vinegar before, but now I definitely do.
Right. Here's my take home for this. All of the vinegars we tried, and I'll post pictures on my website so you can see, were really great. I don't think I would buy the cheapest one, this Pompeian. To me, that one just didn't do it for me at all. But I wouldn't also make a vinaigrette out of the 25-year. I think it's a waste of those flavors because you've got so much other stuff. Right. Mustard and garlic and whatever you're putting in your vinaigrette.
It's like mixing aged whiskey with soda or something like that.
That's that's a perfect, I'll have, exactly right.
Or that's scotch or whatever.
No, that's a perfect analogy. You wouldn't mix it with Coke.
Right.
Right? So, I would use the 25 and some of these others to dip my bread in or drizzle it on a salad or something just plain like that. Interesting.
Very.
Interesting. All right. Well, that was our journey through vinegars today, balsamic vinegars. I hope you found it interesting. And if you're liking what you're hearing, be sure to go and subscribe to our podcast. If you go to my website, happydiabetic.com, up the top right-hand side of the page, you'll see all my social links. Join in on the conversation. And I'm just so happy that you guys are here today. These podcasts are available anywhere podcasts are playing. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you for your comments. We are interested in what you have to say. If you have any questions for me or Jason about vinegar, diabetic eating, recipes, cooking, whatever, go to my website, happydiabetic.com. Go to the contact link, send us an email, and we will answer it very quickly. So, Jason, good job, man.
Yeah, thank you.
That was fun.
That was fun.
All right. Vinegar Go. Our podcast is produced and engineered by Jason Lewis. Our theme music today by the Happy Diabetic Kitchen Band and yours truly, Chef Robert, on the guitar. And of course, as always, our kitchen mascots, Scout and Tucker. And hey, today in the studio, we have 2 special guests. Hey guys, why don't you introduce yourself to all my happy diabetic friends out there and tell us your favorite food.
Hi guys, my name is Gabe. My favorite food is burgers.
Hi, my name is August, and my favorite food is apples.
Awesome. Good to have you in the studio. These are friends of ours, and they actually stopped by to go swimming today. And how's the pool?
Amazing.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. So thanks for tuning in, and let me leave you with this thought. Julia Child once said, "People who love to eat are always the best people." So long for now, and remember, no one loves you more than me.